Hello everyone, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Sophia.
And today we'll be talking about Aurelle of Tampines.
So the purpose of this video is really to go through with you if you're looking at this EC, what you might want to look out for as well as avoid if you're going for this development. So Lauren's going to go through a bit first on where the location is in Tampines.
Let's dive right in.
This is an ex-Tampines resident, by the way.
Yes, I am. I have stayed there for a period of my time. I really love that area. Okay, so looking at where Aurelle of Tampines is going to be launched at, it is right over here, which is beside Parcel A, which is Tenet, that has launched about a few years
or so
back.
ago,
Yeah, it should be going to reach its TOP in 1 to 2 years' time. And right over here, it is Parktown. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you are looking at Aurelle of Tampines, you would have heard of Parktown. And Parktown, during its launches on first day, it has sold how many percent? More than 80%. Yeah, so as you can see, the demand in Tampines is there. And now we have Aurelle of Tampines. And same thing as Parktown, it is actually located just right beside Parktown. It's around 5 minutes walk to the future Tampines North interchange as well as the MRT station. And if you are to compare it to Tenet, right, we are actually nearer to the MRT station.
I think this area in general is a pretty new side of Tampines, I would say. Now, before all these recent launches, generally you have HDB BTOs down here. But honestly, not that much else. But of course, in the next few years, we're going to see the mall at Parktown as well as the interchange. So there's really going to be an upcoming part of Tampines.
Right. So that's why they always like to say buy into an area when it's still developing and not when it's developed.
This development is going to have 760 units, so it's a really good size across 14 blocks as well as all of them will be 14 stories. Now, of course, this will be brought to you by Sim Lian, which if you have watched any other of our reviews, you know that this developer is really known for their layouts. And I have to say, after me and Lauren have looked through the layouts, there are really some that we are very excited to share about, so we'll go through that later.
Yeah, just to touch on a little bit on the car park lots. So there will be 608 basement car park lots, including 7 for EV charging. And that will be about 80% of the car park lots compared to the total number of units. So what do you think of this number?
To me, this is actually a pretty good number because you are so near the MRT. Definitely not everybody here is going to be driving. But we also do hear on the ground, some people are concerned because you do have about a year or two after this TOPs before the MRT comes out.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's your own preference, but I don't think this is a major issue. How about you, Lauren?
I don't think it's a major issue at all because around Tampines, I'm pretty sure whether now or in future, there will be a lot more bus services that's going to come in. And then we are just a short distance away from the Tampines town area. So I would think that even without the MRT coming up, right, there will be buses that will lead us to everywhere else in Tampines. So to me, it's not an issue. Yeah, so and I think that 80% is a pretty good number already because some EC now, they are only building about like 50% of the car park lot. Yeah,
this is really an increasing trend. So moving on to the unit mix, you're going to be able to get a 3-bedroom here all the way to a 5-bedroom. With most ECs, you don't have 2-bedroom for this. But what I think is worth noting is that they actually decided to build 5 bedrooms for this.
Right.
So if we look at most new ECs, we don't even really see 5 bedrooms for some of them anymore.
Like Novo Place that was being launched last November, they don't have any 5-bedder. Yeah, and even with 5-bedder being built, right, you can see that the number of percentage is only 3.7. So if you can get a 5-bedder, would you?
I mean, if I need 5 bedrooms for my family,
I would definitely.
Think the price point here is actually quite attractive, which we'll go into more later as well. I have to say, the layout is very, very decent. Moving on to the site plan. So, Lauren, I know there are some facilities you really like here because it reminds you of a certain condo elsewhere.
Yes. So, as you can see from the site plan, right, Aurelle of Tampines is mostly north-south facing, and then we are right beside the TPE. But just one look, right, it reminds me of Emerald of Katong. It has I recall Emerald of Katong is also by Sim Lian, by the way. They have about 7 pools. They have the main pool, they have the shrimp one, and they have small little pools over here. So in fact, even for Aurelle of Tampines, right, there are around 7 to 8 pools. And I recall that even at the barbecue pit, pit area, there are small pools, private pools that is pegged to the barbecue pit, so that if you were to book that barbecue pit, right, you and your guests, you can actually enjoy the small pool right in front.
So this landscaping is going to feel quite similar to that, except of course it's in a bigger place. I believe there are 9 swimming pools here.
Yeah, I guess there are.
Yes, as with most Tampines developments and ECs, however, what we do want to take note of is also the facing. So, of course, on this side over here, we had the highway, as Lauren mentioned. So here, you're going to have a substation. And then next door over here is actually going to be your neighbor tenant, which is also another new launch EC. And then over here on this side will be your interchange. Now, of course, if you're buying into Tampines, as with most developments, you're not really going to have much of an external view. So if you're facing outside, it's going to be, like we mentioned, the interchange or even another development. So I feel that the premium here is really going to be inside towards the pool facings. Now, of course, with all the different pool facings, we also want to take note what the premium is because, to be honest, Lauren, if you buy pool facing, ask you low floor, high floor, got much difference or not?
I don't think there's a difference. In fact, if I'm facing the pool, I wouldn't want to be too high. If not, I will lose the pool view in a way, right? Okay, and also one thing to take note is that Sophia mentioned that over here is currently the bus interchange, but it is just going to be temporary because once Parktown is up, right, the whole bus interchange will shift to Parktown, and this whole area will be redeveloped. But as of now, we do not have any idea what is going to be built yet. So if you are looking to buy units that's located near this area, just do have to take note that in future there might be some construction going on.
And for the blocks, you basically have 14 blocks, but there are some blocks that are a bit different.
Yes.
So we'll touch on that. You can have a look here. So for some of them, they are actually not going to have level 1. And this is block 49, 51, as well as 59.
Okay, so for these 3 blocks, they actually start from level 3, as you can see from the pictures over here. So these pictures, we actually got it from the model itself. And if you have been down to the show flat before, you realize that the model is very big, but it is actually quite far. The way they build it, right, you can't stand too close to the model. So this area may not be that obvious to you, which is why we have extracted it out and show it to you here. So the reason why that for these 3 blocks, right, they actually start from level 3 elevated is because these 3 blocks are surrounding the entrance point, which is the drop-off area over here, right?
Yeah, so like Lauren mentioned, you can see that the bottom of the block actually doesn't have a ground floor unit. And I really want to give the developer props for this because they could have easily just built another unit there and profited it off, right? But what this actually does, because it's actually a sequence of about 2 blocks or about 3 blocks where there is no bottom floor. So the minute you come into the condo, let's say you enter down here and you walk through the entrance, you'll be able to see all the way through. And this already gives you a very, very good impression and open feeling when you come to the condo. So you can imagine this really adds to the resale experience when your viewers come and view in the future.
Agree. Yeah.
So moving on, we have the future competition. And because as with any development, in order to know whether we can have a safe exit, we need to know who our future competitors is as well. And with most people, they will always ask us, we have tenant next door. So does that mean that's going to be our competition? And also for the newly launched Parktown. So Lauren, do you think Parktown is going to be a competition to Aurelle?
I know a lot of people have been asking me that, but it is really a yes and no, okay? Because to be honest, if you ask me, my immediate reaction would be a no. Aurelle of Tampines itself is an EC. It is further away. It is not an integrated mixed development. I do not have all this right below. So to me, we are in a little corner of our own that is more family friendly. Whereas Parktown, right, it is an integrated where it comes with 1-bedder, 2-bedder, and it's going to be so bustling over there. So, and on top of that, it is a condo with a condo price tag. Yeah, so pricing is also something that we really, really want to highlight to you in Aurelle of Tampines.
So I think like what Lauren mentioned, definitely there are 2 very different products in terms of price points and what they bring to the table.
Yes.
But I think what's important for us to understand is historically when we have such a situation, how this is actually going to affect your profitability in the future.
Yes.
So let's have a look at an example, which is another EC that was built as per Rina Residence over here, and this is near Buangkok. Now, when it first built, there was no mall or anything nearby, of course. But in recent years, we had Sengkang Grand Residence that came to TOP, which is an integrated development. You have the mall below and, of course, the condo above. So the question really is, when Sengkang came out, did it actually impact as per Rina Residence when it comes to the resale? Well, in this case, we see it is quite interesting actually. So of course, for Esperina Residence, which we have in the blue line over here, as with most ECs, we can see that MOP, the price always go up, right?
Yes.
So that was around 2018 over here. We saw the price go up. And then after a while, it did stagnate a bit over here. But when Sengkang Residence 2023, the condo TOP over here, what we saw is another shoot up in price for Esplanade Residence. In fact, it is quite steep, very comparable to when MOP and even Sengkang did not experience as much growth that it did.
Yeah.
So in this case, what we can tell is that if you have an integrated development that is coming near an EC, it actually benefits you. And like me and Laura were discussing, if let's say you really have a budget constraint, then I move nearby next door. I still enjoy amenities of the condo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, in Singapore, right, every time we talk about, like, for example, even if you go for resale and you bring your clients to see a property, we tell them there's MRT right opposite, there's mall right opposite. Is it a good condo? Yes, right? So this is exactly what we are seeing here. I'm not trying to say that integrated is not good. It's just that you don't really need to be staying in the integrated to feel that it's more superior. Just right opposite, right? Just across the road, it can also doing very well. And the thing is, there's also a price difference. Yeah, so for people coming into Bangkok area, Esperina will become something that is so attractive to them because it's right opposite Sengkang Grand Residences, and the price tag is also more palatable in a way.
Just that you need to exercise maybe like 5 more minutes and cross and cross the road. But of course, both has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
But definitely for ECs, if you're near integrated and the buyer has less of a budget, you know for that target audience, you're going to look very attractive.
Yes, for sure.
So just looking at their profits, like what we said, for Esperina, it is so clear. Even for those that bought not at launch, at resale only, you can see they bought here in 2021, 2022. When they sold just about 3+ years later, they still are able to make such a healthy profit,
Wow.
300, 400, which I can say is really not bad for resale EC in this time period.
Yes.
So we can see in this case that Sengkang actually had Sengkang Grand had a very positive impact on Esperina residents. Of course, what's also important for us to know is our other neighbor, which is tenant next door.
Yes.
Now, that is more of an apple-to-apple example because it's another EC, but how will it actually affect us when we MOP? Because the MOP dates are not too far apart, right?
About 2 years?
I believe so, 1-2 years.
The difference.
So let's look at another area, Yishun, which had an identical situation. We have the Criterion and Signature, which MOP less than 1 year apart, and they were next door to each other. So the question really is here, the later one to MOP, they actually affect the resale price of the other. So if we look, Signature actually MOP in July 2022, so they were the first one, followed by Criterion, which is February 2023. Now, you can see both launch at a very similar price, and they have a very similar trend at MOP, where they're still able to make very similar profits. Now, maybe what we see here is Criterion just very slightly so did a little bit better. So actually, in our case, where we have Aurelle coming into MOP after tenant, is to our benefit because the interest is already coming in from tenant. But Lauren, do you agree with me? If you go and view a house, right? Let's say got two, one newer, one older. Will you go see the newer, older one first?
For sure, the newer one.
So actually, we see that if you are the later EC, it actually even benefits you in the resale market. So moving on, we also want to talk about what are the challenges when it comes to going to an EC.
Yes. So for this, right, because EC is actually a different product altogether compared to HDB as well as private. It is like a middle sandwich in between. So for EC, right, even though it is a condominium, eventually ultimately when you move in, it has condo facilities. But the entering part, right, to even buy an EC, there are a lot of conditions that you have to fulfill. So for example, for you to buy an EC, you have to fulfill partially something like a HDB guidelines whereby only family nucleus.
A BTO, right?
Yes, it's like a BTO, as well as there will be an income cap of 16,000 instead of 14,000. And with that, right, with the income cap, and there is also a MSR, mortgage servicing ratio, when you are applying to take a loan to buy a new EC, brand new EC from developer, right? So as you can see from here, right, at EC at launch, for the bank to assess your loan eligibility, they are actually basing on a mortgage service ratio of 30% compared to a TDSR, total debt servicing ratio, at 55%. Yep. So, but of course, if you were to buy a resale EC after 5 years MOP, right, it will revert back to a private calculation whereby they will take a TDSR capped at 55% of your income. And how will this impact you? Okay, so if you were to take a look, because for EC now, there, like I've mentioned, there is an income cap of 16K. So if your household income, you and your husband earns more than 16,000, you don't have to think of applying a new EC because you are not eligible. You have to go for resale, or you have to go for a resale EC, or actually a private condominium whereby there is no such income cap. So EC is also not easy to buy, not say you want or you do not want. So if you have a chance to go, I would say please explore it, but I will touch more on the challenges over here. So let's say, for example, both you and your spouse, 35 years old, and you are able to take the maximum loan of 30 years, and you have already reached the household cap of 16,000 based on TDSR, which is 55%, you are able to take a loan up to 1.799, close to 1.8, meaning to say you can actually buy a property of up to 2.4 million. Whereas for an EC, as you can see, your loan amount it drops so drastically to only 981K for you to buy into a brand new EC from developer. So even if you have reached the income cap, right, your loan is only 981,000. And what does this mean? It means that if you want to buy a Aurelle 5 bedder, which is starting from 2.258, your maximum loan at 981, you would need to have your own cash and CPF of up to like 1.3 million.
Wow, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Laura, I'm not sure you have clients like this also, right? But every time when I have a client looking at new EC, right, this is actually the biggest hurdle for them because they fulfill the family nucleus, everything. But ultimately, because of the difference in MSR and TDSR, they actually have to fork out so much more cash that sometimes it can be as much as if you went for the private route, then it doesn't really make sense for them also. But this is also what makes EC so attractive for first buyers, right? Because if they are buying in at the MSR rate, when their future resale buyers come in, they don't actually have to buy under MSR, so they can take more loan. So definitely the buyers coming in can afford a lot more because of the difference.
Then you will have a much bigger pool of buyers that is buying from you in future, which is why I would say that the profits for EC is kind of like guaranteed in a way.
Honestly, if you look at the data that we've seen, there's not much EC sellers that have actually lost money from the unit. Generally, they do make healthy profits, except if maybe you apply to sell earlier before MOP, because sometimes you might have some criteria, like your buyer has to be under MSR still. Then we see the profit may not be as good. But after MOP, it's pretty solid, more or less across the board, I would say, which makes new ECs a pretty safe product. So moving on, we have now reached the layouts. So let's first go into the 3 bedrooms. Now, Lauren, what do you think of the 3 bedroom here? So this will be the smaller size at 840 square feet, with most of them actually facing inwards towards the pool. So you can see you do have some options here as well as here.
Right. I find that this layout, right, it is just so regular and it has everything that you are supposed to have. So for example, when you first step in here, right, you have a dining area over here, and the kitchen. When you step into the kitchen, on the right side, you have a home shelter that is tucked at one corner. So this is one thing that I really like. Usually for private 3-bedder compact, there is no home shelter, right? Yeah. And there is no WC, no yard. That one is quite understood. But for this Aurelle, right, they actually have a proper home shelter so that you can use it for storage. Okay, and then when you step in here, there's this glass panel over here. This is so Simlian. I tell you, this is one thing that I really love about Simlian, because they always have this little kind of touches that is so useful, because kitchen, it can be quite dark because there's no light source that's coming in. Even if you have a window over here, it helps in the ventilation, yes, but the proper light source actually comes from the top. That's what we realized. Yeah, so with this glass panel over here, right, when you are inside the kitchen, first thing, you will be able to see what's going on outside. If you are like washing your dishes, you can see what your kids are doing, and you can even interact with your guests. And then, of course, with the glass panel, it also makes the whole kitchen very bright. And with the small window behind, it is very airy and it's very well ventilated.
Honestly, like sometimes when we bring our clients to view units, for 3 bedrooms, you have to imagine what is the experience for your resale buyer in the future, right? Because if you just look at this layout, for example, the first thing I come in, before I even see anything else, is the kitchen. And so sometimes when it's very dark, honestly, it can be quite a turn off to certain buyers for preference. And ultimately, this is for own stay more or less, right? So you want to feel good the minute you walk in. I think the other important thing to consider as well, as we spoke about just now, there's also tenant next door. So definitely, our future buyer will be viewing here as well as next door to consider both. So we need to understand how our layout holds up against that. So for Aurelle, we have 840 square feet as the smallest, and then for tenant is 893 square feet. Now, both, I would say, honestly, very regular layouts and very functional for 3 bedroom, but there are some minor differences between the two. Now, the first thing to note is if we're looking at 893 for tenant, this will actually be facing the highway. Now, for the highway facing units at tenant, you actually won't have a balcony like you can see over here.
Yeah, so I actually got shocked when you told me about that, because I thought that you mean like in these days and time, there is still units with no balcony. But yeah, actually your neighbor tenant, the units that's facing the highway, there is no balcony. Yeah.
So I think the developer very intentionally did that for tenant. It was mainly because those units are actually facing the highway. So they are trying to create some noise buffer.
True.
But of course, I think the good thing for that one is you have a bit of an unblocked view. However, for Aurelle, every single unit is going to come with a balcony. And this is because the developer has built it a bit different. They slant all the blocks away from the highway. So you have a bit less noise. And of course, balcony is going to give you a bit more ventilation. Now, the other thing to note will be the study area over here. So of course, for tenant, you have the added benefit that there is a study. But in my opinion, honestly, the study is a bit negligible because it's like a little nook down there.
Have you seen the study for Aurelle?
Okay, Aurelle one, for the bigger layouts, we do have the study, which we'll go through in a bit, but that is more of a proper bedroom.
Yeah, this is like a study area, I would say. Yeah.
But I would say that between the two, the biggest deciding factor is really going to be the balcony area, whether you mind or not. That is up to personal preference, but just based on what we see in the market, I'll see balcony is always a bonus point for resale EC buyers.
Correct. And one thing to add on is that for tenant, right, it's actually pre-harmonized, whereas for Aurelle, it's post-harmonized. So even if you look at their square footage, it's pretty similar. But for tenant, you're actually taking into consideration of all the aircon ledges. It's actually part of your built-in area, and these are what the tenant buyers actually paid for. For Aurelle, right, as you can see, all these are non-strata, so you will not be paying for any of the AC ledges. So if you were to ask me, I think the built-in, the livable space between Aurelle and tenant for their 3-bedroom compact, right, is very, very comparable. Even though in terms of square footages, tenant is slightly higher.
So actually the inside space is going to feel very similar.
Right.
Now, of course, that's most important when your resale buyer is viewing next time.
Yes.
So next we have the 3-bedroom premium. So this is going to be a bit bigger at 872 square feet. And you're going to have a variety of all the different facings. So nearer to the interchange here outwards. And then we have the inward facing ones as well as towards your neighbor tenant. So what are the differences that we'll be getting for this versus the compact?
Alright, so when you were to step in, right, first thing you would have noticed that the kitchen is significantly larger because the previous compact, right, is like a more of squarish, whereas this is a rectangular shape. It comes with a yard as well as an additional WC. And of course, the WC has window over here. This is just a little thing because usually for WC it doesn't come with window. So so you have ventilation. The kitchen has ventilation, and not forgetting Simlian style, right? They do have this glass panel over here as well. Even though the kitchen is actually tucked right in the middle, and other than that, I don't think there's so much of a difference compared to the compact. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, what I really love for this layout is the kitchen, because aside from the glass panel, you can see the countertop is actually on both sides. It's almost like you're walking towards the light down here.
Yeah.
So it's really going to feel more spacious versus the first one we saw, the counter is a bit more like a wrap around style.
It's like a
so the
square.
space can feel a bit tighter. And of course, I think great thing is that you also have the ventilation. You also have this with the compact for the bathroom where you have the windows. You know, sometimes for private, smaller 3-bedroom layouts, the bathroom won't even have window.
Yes.
So this can impact the living feels a bit. Now moving on, we also have the 3-bedroom plus study. Okay, so 3-bedroom plus study, we have two layouts, and one is going to be 926 square feet and the other one is 947 square feet. Now first, can we just go straight to the study and give it a round of applause, because look at it, it's a proper bedroom. It comes with a window,
a door.
Yeah, so this gives you so much more options, right?
I still remember how the study at Tenet looks like. It is like, how do we even compare that? One is just like a small it's not even a corner, it's along the corridor. And this is a proper room.
I think the biggest benefit, okay, of course for Tenet, if you want to put a table there and make it a study, you can. But down here, it's going to be a lot more flexible, I would say. And that's because, first of all, you can enclose it. Which, number one, you can either use it as a more private study, or this could even be a bedroom, a small bedroom for your kids. Now, the other thing is the way that it is positioned, because it's next to your master. If you really want to make it into a walk-in wardrobe and make it part of your master bedroom, you actually can do that. And of course, the key is to be flexible with your layout. So next time your buyers, it suits more family style. How about the living room? What do you think? I think it is a bit bigger for this. And the kitchen is also a bit different.
Yeah, the kitchen is definitely bigger. So this one is more of like you walk in this way. And then one thing I like about their 3-bedroom kitchen, the kitchen is that you can actually put a Steigen up there if you want to, because it's long enough. Yeah, you have this long area over here plus a window, and it leads you to the WC, the yard, as well as a home shelter, away from the area where the people would be able to look in. So you're able to do all your laundry over here as well.
So just to add on to that, like with the way that Aurelle has been built, you can see these parts that are highlighted in yellow. This means you can actually knock it down also. So if you want to create a bigger room for your kids or even the living area, you can actually combine the space if you wish. And of course, that gives you more flexibility. Now, the other difference will be the entranceway. So if you notice here and here, now for 947, your house shelter is right next to the entrance. And then for 926, your house shelter is next to your bathroom too over here. So pros and cons to both. For 947, your walkway might feel a bit tighter when you come in because this space is permanently locked. But for 926, because your house shelter is here, it's actually going to make your living room feel a bit smaller than 947 would, where you have the open space over here. But both, I would say, very comparable layouts for 3+ study, and I really love the study room. For 947, also just do note that it is a little bit bigger and wider. It's about 2 meters versus over here where it's just 3 square meters for the room.
Right.
So moving on, we also want to compare to Tenet's side as we did with the compact, because that is going to be our main competition in the resale market.
Correct. So if you were to look at the difference between Aurelle 3+ study at 947 as well as Tenet 3+ study also at 947, you could see that the layout difference. So the first thing first, I want to highlight to you, because both are 3+ studies. So when people look at it, they'll be like, where is the study, right? Yeah, so the study area for Tenet is over here, whereas for the Aurelle is the whole study area. So I find that this thing is already a very big win for Aurelle itself, right? And then for Tenet, right, the kitchen, if you were to come in and go in straight, you realize that the kitchen, you just have to go in all the way straight. There is that means it can be a little bit dark because this is actually the home shelter. Yeah, so when you go in, and this will be the yard, the home shelter. And where's the WC?
No WC for Tenet.
There's no
Only
WC.
for Aurelle have WC.
Correct. So same thing, I find that the difference would be the study as well as the kitchen. Because for Aurelle, even though be it the kitchen, the home shelter is here or is in the middle, the kitchen will always have this glass panel over here. And it will definitely feels wider. So same thing, if you were to go into the resale market in future, when you walk into your when they walk into Aurelle compared to tenant, right, they would feel the difference in terms of the kitchen area. One is dark and narrower, the other one is brighter and probably wider as well.
So actually, can I say both are the same size, but for Aurelle, I'm getting a full-on study as well as a WC on top of that. So for same size, I'm actually getting more.
Yes. Okay. So same thing, it goes back to the harmonization because tenant is actually pre-harmonized. So whatever size that you are seeing here, even though now it is even more obvious, 947 versus 947, but in terms of size-wise, you are paying for the aircon latch over here, these two aircon latch, and for Aurelle, you are not going to pay for aircon latch. And then other than that, I think Aurelle wins.
But I will say that, of course, because this is pre-harmonized, so if you are going for Aurelle, have the opportunity to get a 3+ study, how you're going to prioritize the facing as well as the pricing is going to be quite important because you're going to be compared to tenant, which come earlier. So we really want to see what is the price gap between the two as well.
Yes.
So moving on to the 4-bedroom. Now, 4 bedrooms. There's one layout we really love for this, which we'll touch on in a bit.
Yes.
But let's go through the compact one first. So compact is going to be 1023 square feet over here. So what's the difference between this versus your 3+ study? So for this, of course, you have 4 proper bedrooms. Now your master is going to be a bit bigger as well.
Yes.
And for your kitchen and your yard area is actually quite similar to the 3+ study.
Yes.
Except that your wash closet is tucked here versus your house shelter. Now coming in also, to be honest, Lauren, can I say the living room feels pretty similar to the 3+ study also?
Yes, it actually is. Yeah. And somehow if the study is a proper study, right, it's just going to be, some people can actually convert a 3+ study into a small 4th room for the study to convert it into a smaller 4th room. Then it becomes similarly to a 4-bedroom compact.
So to be very honest, the main difference is going to be that you have a proper room over here. So what's really going to be key is when you're looking at the 3+ study, we want to make sure that the price gap is actually not too close to the 4-bedroom.
Yes.
Because otherwise you might as well just go for the 4-bedroom.
Okay, yeah, I do agree with you because let's say when it reaches your turn to choose a unit and you have to choose between a 3+ study higher floor compared to a 4 compact lower floor, the pricing might actually be about the same. So with that, right, maybe you would like to consider the 4 compact instead since it has a 4th proper bedroom compared to the 3+ study. So these are things that you have to look out.
Yeah, I think for ECs generally, if your number is not so good, right? Even if you choose one unit, you can't go too wrong because usually at MOP they will do well.
Yes.
But I think the most headache one, right, which Lauren, if you agree with me, is always when the number is good because we have too many choices, right?
Yes.
That's when it is easy to make a mistake.
Correct. Many a times people are hoping for good numbers, but when they really get a good number, they'll be like, which one should I choose? And that's when they start to panic. And if they don't have proper advice, right, most of the time I can tell you they will make a wrong decision.
Sweat in the queue because not a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so, of course, for 4 bedrooms, we also want to compare to tenant like we did with the 3 bedrooms. So let's have a look at some of the differences. So giving Aurelle, we have 1023 square feet. And then for tenant, we have 1098 square feet. So where are the differences going to be?
First thing first, I would say that the kitchen, this one is a rectangular shape, whereas this one you walk in over here and you walk all the way into this L-shaped kitchen. Same thing, both has yard and WC. And one thing that I need to highlight to you is that for Aurelle, you do have 4 proper bedrooms where you can fit at least a queen size bed.
Yes.
Whereas for tenant, right, there are bedroom 4, as you can see over here, you can only fit a very small single bed, and it is also very tight. As you can see, it is like almost touching the wardrobe already. So I would say that in terms of resale next time, your resale buyer would be able to see the difference because actually both are 4-bedder, right? But when you go to the 4th bedroom, you can very easily, it's very obvious that this is much smaller. And whereas this one, when you walk in, it is actually, you can fit a proper queen as well as you still have space to the wardrobe.
For the 4-bedroom, right? So usually maybe smaller kids, they can still stay. But honestly, like with a lot of resale buyers we meet, they still want to put a study for their kids or they need storage for like toys, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's why I need to tiptoe even when I open the cabinet door.
Right.
So it's a bit more headache. I would say the Aurelle bedroom size is definitely a bit more ideal.
For sure.
But other than that, the living rooms, I would say, are a bit more comparable. But the main deal breaker, I would say, really comes down to the bedroom. So for 4-bedroom, now we have the flexi as well. So 4-bedroom, you're going to have compact, flexi, as well as premium.
Yes.
So for flexi, we see something that we really like.
Yeah.
We really like, which is the frontage. So for frontage, it is wide for this one. So very much like, can I say it's like 5-room HDB, you know, they always have this extra area over here.
Yes.
Where you can use it as your dining.
Yes.
Or some people even make it into another bedroom.
Yes.
So this could potentially be a 5-bedroom. But the main thing is, especially if it is for own stay, you imagine your viewer coming in the future and see this opening wide frontage, always feels so much better and more spacious versus a portrait one.
Yes.
So this is really going to heighten the emotional factor.
Yes.
Other than that, of course, for the kitchen, I think it's pretty good also. We have the glass panel over here and then we have a proper yard. The yard is a bit different for this one. It's kind of sectioned off, can I say that? So you feel almost like you have a proper kitchen. And then let's say even if you're a helper or you hang your clothes there, then your guests don't have to look at it, you know, it can be tucked in a corner in a way.
Exactly. So this is one good thing about the kitchen being, the layout being this way. Because when you come to this area, right, you can actually seal up, not say seal up, you can close up this area so that your helper can actually stay in this so-called a small little private area behind, and your guests will not be able to come in and take a look at the mess behind. Yeah. And it's also like what you have mentioned, the yard is like a separate corner so that it is not directly linked to the kitchen. You actually have to make a turn. And over here, you can do your laundry and all that, which is actually out of sight to where even if there's guests passing by here, they look in, they will not be able to really see the big mess over there.
So everything you don't want people to see, they basically cannot see because it's high at the side.
Correct.
And of course, also with the flexi, there are 4 good sized bedrooms. Similar to the compact.
But there's one downside for this 4-bedroom flexi. There are only 2 stacks.
Yeah, so we'll tell you later which are our priorities for 4 bedrooms. But especially for the flexi, if that is what you are eyeing out for, also do know what your second option is as well as your third option, because likely this will go fast and there's only 2 stacks. So lastly, we have the 4-bedroom premium. Now, how does this compare to the flexi? This one's going to be 1,206 square feet, and you're actually going to have a few more stacks for it. So again, you have the wide frontage layout, and the size for this is actually very similar to the flexi.
It's actually the same for the balcony.
Correct.
And the living,
But what you're going to get extra is dry kitchen over here.
Yes.
So dry kitchen, this kind of extra, like I would say luxury features, usually luxury buyers, I would say really love it. So especially when we're talking about even central area condos or this, we always say it's a bonus to have this. But honestly, if you ask me, in my opinion, especially in the estate like Tampines, which can I say is very family centric, like you said, definitely space is what they want for value.
Agree.
So if we compare to the flexi, actually even for the bedrooms, you can see they are very similar, as well as the kitchen you can also block off. So flexi and premium actually very, very similar. Just that you have the dry kitchen here and then the dining they push up to over here instead of just now at the side. So when it comes down to it, if let's say the premium and the flexi price is a very, very big gap, actually if I go for flexi, I'm not compromising too much, I would say, is it?
Yeah, in fact, for flexi, I feel that at least you have the choice to decide where you want to place the dining. You could even place it at where this area is. Just that the only difference really is the dry kitchen. So some people, like what you've mentioned, they feel that this is a part of like a luxury living, because dry kitchen usually is where you have some little bit of, you put some stuff there like a coffee machine and all that. So it's more of like a lifestyle. But whether or not in Tampines, I don't think that this is a deal breaker, if you ask me.
But that being said also, if really comes down that premium and flexi price is so close that premium is similar price to, let's say, a high floor flexi, then you might want to go for the premium because it's that added luxury but at not too much of a premium also. Now, the thing we notice with most ECs is the way the developer price, because ultimately, this is still a subsidized type of product.
Yes.
So between the lowest floor to highest floor, usually there's not too much of a premium. But what are some of the premiums you see with normal private, like lowest to highest? Can it reach 100k or even 300k sometimes?
More than that sometimes. It really depends. If it's like a mid-floor, maybe we can see about 200,000 to 300,000. If it's a high floor, it can even potentially go up to 400,000. But we think that it will not be what you will see at Aurelle, right?
Yeah, for usually EC, the price jump per floor, not too much. Very similar to BTO kind of style, I would say. So just go as high as you possibly can within a safe budget. But what you want to be aware of is what is your price premium between the next biggest layout as well as the different facings. Now, that is where you're going to see more of a difference. So to sum it up, can I say, Lauren, for a 4-bedroom, our first choice is going to be the Flexi. The Flexi, because you're getting basically a premium feel, just that it likely is going to be at a slightly lower than the 4-bedroom premium price in our prediction, I would say.
Correct.
But 2 stacks only, right?
Yeah, 2 stacks only. 2 to 3 stacks. But if you were to ask me if you're budget constrained, I may actually go for just the 4 compact. Because to be honest, 4 compact, it has 4 proper size bedroom. And then for people in, let's imagine next time upgraders, they really want 4 room. And there is a big price gap between a 4 compact to a 4 flexi or a 4 premium. The difference being the wide frontage, right? I may actually go for the 4 compact because of the budget.
So your first choice would be Flexi, and then after that compact and then premium. So of course all this also comes down to what is the price difference, because like we mentioned, for 4 compact, you want to be mindful that it's not close to 3+ study too much as well.
Maybe just to jump in a little bit, since at this the point of filming, we already have the price matrix. For 4 compact, it's actually starting from 1.689. Whereas when it jumps to Flexi, right, it goes up to 2.02. So I would think that the jump is quite big. So if you really have a budget, right, actually I would think that most will go for 4 compact because of the pricing is too attractive.
It's very accessible, I would say. That's basically the resale price of 3-bedroom at Tampines already.
Yes.
So of course, depending on your budget, then you know how to prioritize from there also. So moving on to the 5-bedroom, we have finally arrived at the 5-bedroom, which is the biggest layout, but also only 2 stacks, and it's going to be closer to the interchange side. So our layout is going to be 1,356 square feet. So again, wide frontage, very similar to your 4-bedroom premium. In fact, I would say it's largely the same as 4-bedroom premium. Kitchen, dry kitchen all the way. Just that now it
comes with a junior
extra bedroom, and this one is junior
master. It comes with an attached bath, meaning to say for your whole of the 5-bedroom, you have a junior master and an additional bathroom compared to your other 4 premium. And also to touch on the location of these 2 units, right, it's actually located at the far left side, right, which is nearest to the bus interchange. So am I right to say that usually for developer, where they place the larger units are usually where they deem as more premium. Yeah, so and also for Aurelle, right, there is one side gate over here. So it's actually very, very convenient for the whole area over here. If you were to stay here, you come down, you take the side gate, you turn left, and you will reach your interchange and your MRT station.
I think like what you said, for this side, definitely the premium might be placed on these stacks because it's almost like you get 3 benefits. So number 1, like you mentioned, is closest to the side gate, the most convenient. Like imagine your view when you look out your balcony is also this whole pool view here. So it's quite nice. And also you are most insulated from the highway noise because you are the furthest away. But in terms of layout, I would say it's pretty good.
It is good. I mean, like there's nothing that is lacking in this 5-bedroom. Whatever that you want, you have it. The downside, I'm not sure if it's even relevant, would be private lift. No, but not for EC. Yeah. Okay. And one thing is that for 5-bedroom, right, even though I don't think there's anything wrong, if I can afford, I would have gone for a 5-bedroom. The supply is actually very, very limited. Just like any other condominiums or any other developments.
I think interestingly, what's even more limited is resale EC that is 5-bedroom.
Correct.
Because like we mentioned at the start, we are seeing less developers build 5-bedrooms and EC. And if we just talk about the older resale ECs in Tampines, so we have like City Life and Trillium. So from the last time when I checked for my client City Life, the current listed units for a 5-bedroom is already about 3.2 million to 4 million based on the advertisement. So you can see if that is the resale price you're already looking at, and I believe the starting price is about 2.3, 2.5. Am I correct?
You mean for the 5-bedroom?
Yes, for 5 bedrooms, 2.25.
Yeah.
2.25. So if you can enter something that is even close to that, even at 2.5 million, for example, let's say if you're going for higher floor, you already have such a big buffer over here on top of the low supply.
Yeah.
So going in, it is a pretty safe buy, I would say.
Definitely. I mean, I'm sure many of you will be wondering, are you sure 5-room in Tampines is going for this price? You have to understand how demand and supply works in the whole property market. Because if you are really looking for a bigger size unit, be it in Tampines or any parts of Singapore, and there is only so limited supply that is in the market, to be honest, do you agree with me that for bigger units, most people will buy for own stay? Meaning to say they will not sell anytime soon, or really when they really need to move or upgrade or downsize, you know, that kind of thing. So the supply of bigger units like a 5-bedder in the market is not high, which is why they are able to command a higher price in this sense.
I think like as we talked about in previous videos also, if you're buying into any township that has a high supply, because in Tampines, we already have a few ECs that came out resale now. We also have a lot of condos. You need two things, which is either whatever you're buying is low supply, is unique, or your price is very attractive. And in this case, I can honestly say Aurelle, it hits both of that criteria.
Yes.
So if you're looking at a 5-bedroom and you qualify for EC, you can really consider this. We have come to the end of our review for Aurelle. Now, by the time this video comes out, it will likely be over already for preview period.
Yes.
So hopefully this video really gives you some clarity on what you should go for if you're taking part. But if you miss out on this one, I think there's another one upcoming as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're already looking at the EC route, just that the timeline does not fit for Aurelle of Tampines, right? Do not worry. There's one more EC plot that's upcoming by Sim Lian at Tampines as well.
And Sophia is very experienced for Tampines, so it's definitely one to keep your eye out for.
Yes.
Now, of course, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to both of us. Otherwise, we'll catch you all next time in the next video.
Yeah, see you next time. Bye.